There's a camera on.
Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Parks and Rec, City of Post Falls Parks and Rec Commission meeting for March 25th, 2014 to order. Please stand and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the viewing audience and members of the public audience here. Just as a reminder, please turn off your cell phones and it'll interfere with the communication equipment. And Penny will go with the roll call of commission members.
Let the record show that all of the commissioners and chairmen are present.
And the next item is ceremonies, appointments, and announcements. And we have a few new commission members. Tammy Martinez was reappointed for another term. And we'd like to welcome Jamie Davis and Howard Gould. So thank you for volunteering. I know you guys had good recommendations from the mayor and city council, and we're looking forward to serving with you. We also have introduction of our new recreation coordinator, and I think Mitzi's going to present Mr. Brown.
Good evening. Welcome to those of you that are new. Those of you who may not know me, I'm Mitzi Michaud, the recreation manager, and Dave's right-hand assistant in the sense of for the recreation division. I try to keep him in line because you know that's very important.
Never happens.
I try hard. But anyways, I wanted to share with you a little bit about, before I actually introduce you to our new staff member, whenever we have a staff member that leaves, other than having a deep mourning process, we always like to sit down and reevaluate where are we going, how is everybody feeling about everything, because the nice thing about our department is those in the rec division, we've been there anywhere from 8 to 15 years. And so sometimes a lot of that with longevity, you can get stale, and or you're just going through the motions. So I sat down with the recreation staff and said, if you could get rid of anything you wanted, what would it be? And if you could take on anything you wanted, what would it be? And we talked a lot about different things. And so what we did is we kind of changed things up a little bit from what Rob originally had, who was originally our he was a rec coordinator, but focused on athletics. So we've spread some of the athletics out, because the other piece of that is Robert was so overworked in the sense of constantly had evening programs, weekend programs, that it was just really not realistic for one person to do and to be able to have room for growth. And so what we did is Jill McDowell, who is one of our recreation coordinators, her area of expertise is sponsorships and donations, and that, as you know, takes a very special person to be able to do that. And so she still wants to continue to do that. She's good at it. We love the fact she does it. She's keeping that. She also focuses a lot on this preschool aspect of the preschool programs and trying to generate different preschool programs, from special interest to little art classes, little field trips, those types of things. She's also, the piece of the athletic portion that she now has is the adult volleyball. The tennis program she's been running, she'll continue to do that. And then she also will be starting up some pickleball leagues with our new pickleball courts. The other thing is her focus in the summertime are the lifeguards for the Camille Beach. And so she does all the hiring and training for that. And she'll continue to do that. The new piece that she'll be adding on with Tracy is developing the summer concert series and really trying to get that up and running and finding the funding for that, and all those other pieces, and trying to see if we can get more community events going with the concerts. Our other recreation coordinator is Josh Oakes, and his focus is he does the spring and fall soccer program, because that program alone is a very large program, and so it's really a kind of better to have one person do that rather than multitask. His area of expertise, though, is the outdoor recreation. So he's the one that's doing a lot of the snowshoe trips, the rock climbing, rafting trips, those types of things. He gets to go out and play or encourage people to get out and play and do some of those activities. And his new piece that he's going to be adding on that we've kind of given to him is the fishing derby. It used to always be affiliated with the Post Falls Festival weekend. Now that that's been changed, the fish don't play as well in July as they would more in the early June months. So Josh will be scheduling or putting a fishing derby together as its own little community event, and that'll take place sometime in the month of June. The other thing that Josh will be adding on to his list of tasks and projects that he enjoys is fun runs. So we're looking at doing several different like little 5K fun runs throughout the year that'll have different themes. And he may work on some of that with Tracy, because Tracy, as some of you may know, she does the duathlon, which is now the triathlon. So Josh will work with her on that as well. But the main thing is that we want to kind of start getting, fun runs are huge, especially little 5Ks. They're easy, don't take a lot of time. You can incorporate family into it. And so we're really trying to kind of start heading into that emphasis as well. The other thing Josh will be doing this summer specifically is he's going to be adding a lot of new outdoor components to our programs. He's going to have like, kind of like a Daddy and Me type of camping trip, probably at Corbin Park, but just a little opportunity for kids and dads to get out there and camp. Doesn't have to take a lot of equipment. He's going to be doing he's doing a zombie adventure camp with the older kids. The last week of August is always challenging for the parents because Camp Chameleon is closed, and sometimes the Boys and Girls Club is closed as well, mostly because all of our staff have left for school, so we don't have a lot of staffing. And so he's going to fill that void by having a zombie adventure camp that'll probably be geared for 8 and older kids, and that'll be wonderful for those parents that have been panicked as far as what to do with their children during that week. The other piece of that is where Justin comes into play is he still has a very heavy emphasis on athletics, but we have also given him the portion of facility coordination. So he will be coordinating all of the gyms that we rent throughout the school year. The other thing is, as of last July, we are now in charge of not only scheduling all the city fields, but we also do all the scheduling for the school fields, with the exception of Post Falls High School. So that's become an issue within itself, because the facilities for fields now, what used to be Little League, Club Soccer, Park and Rec, we now have 12 different user groups that are all wanting the same amount of fields. We have no more fields, but we have all these new groups coming out of the woodwork. We're dealing with arena football, lacrosse, rugby, and we now have, there's probably 5 different versions of baseball. And then you have your Pop Warner-based football that has started, even though they're out of Spokane. Post Falls teams are being formed here, so they want to know where they can practice. Club soccer, the academy soccer, Park and Rec soccer, and they just keep growing. I'm like, we need more grass and more dirt. So Justin will be overseeing that with me. I'll be helping him. I'm not going to throw him into the fire completely on his own. And as far as that goes, he's also going to be overseeing all the summer sports camps. And his other forte that he'll be adding to our department is we want to kind of be known for running community tournaments as well. You know, Josh runs the dodgeball tournament. It's a great event. Everybody comes out for a Friday evening. They have a blast. So we're going to be looking at what other tournaments can we offer to try to bring people into the community. And it's just a one-time thing. It's a fun thing. It's not a long-term commitment, because people tend to want to buy into that versus the long-term commitments and everything. I'm going to let Justin tell you a little bit about where he's from and everything, and then I will continue on with the rest of us. Justin Brown.
All right, good evening, guys. So a little bit about myself. I went to Central Washington University. That's where I received my degree in recreation management. From there, I've worked for the city of Ellensburg for a few years, coordinating some adult programs and helping at the drop-in youth center. Those sort of things were my main responsibilities. From there, I've worked for the city of Cheney, again with adult and youth sports, supervision, helping coordinate schedules, that type of thing, and also starting the youth center out there. From there, I worked for the city of Rathdrum and was there for almost 2 years, and now I'm here. So played sports my whole life, and so it's a great position for me. So, any questions?
Having worked for Ellensburg, so when you have games out on the prairie, you'll be able to tell some real war stories that the wind's not nothing here.
There's been plenty of times where I'd be standing this close to somebody and I couldn't hear a word they were saying.
Right.
So, and you'd hit a ball in softball to dead center field and it would go over the fence in right field. So there were some bad windstorms out there.
We don't have wind here compared to there.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question for Mitzi on that. Have you been to the Avista presentation on the dam refurbishing?
Not the one that they just had for the general public. We had a staff training with them.
Okay.
Preliminary that was kind of talking about all the different crazy fun things that'll be taking place.
We're losing the one trail part of the time. How about the rock climbing area? Is that going to be shut down part of the year?
Yeah, I can answer that. And no, the rock climbing will not be affected.
We'll just approach it a different way?
Correct. There will be alternate, the main trailhead that's closest to the river will be closed, but we had last year with the Montana Conservation Crew putting in new trail connectivity and stuff. So all that will be accessible. The one trail that goes along the river where the dam construction is going, that's closed.
Yeah, it came up 3 or 4 times, and good, to close that would be, for a year, it'd be terrible to people that use it, but yeah, good, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions of Justin?
Welcome.
All right.
Yeah.
He's a fellow Wildcat. I as well am an alumni of Central Washington University. I don't even know if you knew that.
I did.
But yes, the wind is fun. We love the wind in the spring and the summer of Ellensburg. And you're right, we don't have to quite deal with that here, which is wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, then moving on with Tracy. In the past, Tracy's specialty has been special interest and trying to recruit and develop different special interest programs. She will continue to do that, but her area of expertise now is going to be basically coordinating community special events. So she's taken the forefront on running the Post Falls Festival weekend. And so we're kind of filtering everybody through Tracy. Jill is also helping her with that. But as far as we're looking at, possible fall festivals, winter festivals, not just our regular winter fest that we have here. How can we enhance that? So the nice thing is we're going to look at all the different components that we do have, what we don't have, and how we can fill those voids. And then with myself, I still have the camp program, and we're discussing what portion of basketball. Josh, Justin, and myself each have a basketball program. In the past, I've had the River City competitive program, which has grown to 65 teams, and it's very large, it's very time-consuming. And so Mr. Dave Fair over there has said that he really needs me to try to free myself up a little more so that I can help him with things, because we overwhelm him so much and beat on him that he needs our assistance to survive. No. But I think with the thing that's nice with all of this is, I had an opportunity to kind of be on a committee with one of our neighboring cities, and every time I kind of branch out and see what's going on in our neighboring cities, I also stop and think of how fortunate we are that we are such a progressive city. And that was one of the comments I was throwing out as people were discussing things. I said, well, do you want to still be the little bedroom community that you are, or do you want to be progressive because your community has grown by 4,000 in the past several years? Do you want to continue to grow and to be progressive and to start providing opportunities like that? Because we do have a lot of people that come to us from all over, the Kootenai County and the Liberty Lake area because we offer such a large variety of programs. And one thing that I was sharing with this group is I said, all of the staff in the rec division, at least, we're all from larger cities. So we have seen how it's done bigger and better, and we strive to do that. And that's why when somebody comes into us with a program, we try not to say no unless it's absolutely absurd. But it's like, let's give it a try. Put a proposal together for us. Let's see how we can do it. And then also looking at enhancing what we do have. Because we have been there for so long, we don't want to be stagnant either. There's nothing worse than going through the motions every day and saying, okay, what did I do at the end of the day? And so we're all totally excited. Dave will probably talk to you, or if he hasn't already, as far as a department, we're looking at where are we going, how are we going to get there, what's our view, and that's what we're hoping all of you will give us direction on, ideas on things you're out there in the community, you hear what people are saying, and so how can we enhance that? How can we enhance the services we're providing? We've revised our mission statement, because that was one thing I said, if we were to challenge the staff on who really knows the mission statement of the city or their department, how many of them could really write it down? And actually even you. If I said, hey, could you write down this Park and Rec mission statement? I know I wouldn't do very well. So we have made it much simpler, much easier to remember and focus on, and we've also taken the steps to kind of look at beyond that, what does professionalism look like? And so we've broken that into several components as well, because obviously it's a very vague, very large spectrum, but what does it look like and how are we displaying that out in the community? And so we're pretty excited. You know, we're all rolling forward and have lots of things to come in the next couple of years, and so hopefully none of us are going anywhere, and Justin's gonna jump on board, and we're gonna, you know, he's already kind of had to have the baptism under fire and hit the ground running, and so he's got several different programs starting this weekend and next. So we're very excited to be here. And again, those of you that are new, welcome. And Tammy, welcome back. And you know, if you ever have questions or anything, please feel free to give us a call, or you can talk to Dave. If you want to talk to the fun person, you can talk to me. Dave's looking at me like you are in so much trouble tomorrow.
Actually, I do her evaluation tomorrow, so it's going to be really nice.
I wanted to give him something to work on, yeah. Did anybody have any questions?
Any questions for
Good job.
Mitzi at all?
Any questions?
Great job.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, and have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you, Mitzi, and
betcha.
welcome to Post Falls, Justin.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is amendments to the agenda. I don't believe we have any, so we'll move on to the consent calendar. That would be approval of the workshop from March 3rd.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the workshop on March 3rd. I'll second.
And we'll do a roll call.
Okay, Davis,
Abstain?
Gorley,
Aye.
Martinez,
Aye.
Hale,
Aye.
Nordum,
Aye.
Hodel,
Aye.
Gould.
Abstain.
You.
And we do not have any public hearings tonight, and no old or unfinished business. So next item is citizen issues. If anyone signed up there for discussing anything that's not on the agenda? No. Don't believe so. So for new business, first item is the election of officers for 2014, and we'll go through the nominations, and if that
So after 2
Candidate.
years, you're tired, or you?
After 3 years, I think I'm gonna hand the gavel over to someone, so we'll have the nominations, and if that nominee accepts, then we'll have votes. So,
Are we doing the chairman first?
Yes.
yeah, we'll do chairman first, I guess. So do we have a nomination for chairman?
I nominate Rick.
Okay, we have a nomination for Rick. Do we have a second? I'll second him, I guess. And do we have any other nominations for chair? Anyone interested? No. So do we want to,
Does Rick accept the nomination? Okay, no other nominations?
he has a smile on his face, looked like an accept, so.
Okay, so,
No other nominations, so we'll just do a vote, I guess.
okay,
All those aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Gorley,
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
Hale,
Aye.
Nordum,
I'll abstain.
Hodel,
Aye.
Gould.
Aye.
One of the best things is voting for yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
So now you have for the vice chair.
Yep.
So any nominations for vice chair?
For vice chair, I nominate Tammy.
Tammy has been nominated. Do you accept your nomination?
Sure.
Okay.
Is there a second though?
Need a
We have a
second.
second for Tammy.
I'd second that.
Nelson will second. And do we have any other nominations for vice chair? It's always the quiet time, this meeting. Okay, well, I don't believe we'll get any other nominations for vice chair, so we'll do a vote for vice chair.
Okay, Davis,
Aye.
Gorley,
Aye.
Martinez,
Aye.
Hale,
Aye.
Nordum, Hodel,
Aye.
Gould.
Aye.
Okay, so that was quick and painless.
And and the actual change will take place at our next meeting, which is the April workshop.
Okay, so we have
So you have
Rick,
to finish out today.
Rick as the chair and Tammy as the incoming vice chair. Next is the Tullamore subdivision PUD request, which Dave will present.
Good evening. I'll actually do presentation. As you all are aware, the original developer for Tullamore is no longer in the picture. We've seen a lot of changes within the development community, and it was probably about 8-9 months ago that in a meeting with the council that discussed and asked about an option of looking at how to address the issue of the park, because that was definitely a sticking point. We have the full plans that were approved. We understand from a number of developers that looked at it that they wanted to see changes. So, but that means that there will be, if that happens, a full, it'd be a PUD amendment. It would go back to planning and zoning for their recommendations and ultimately to city council, and those would be public hearings, both of them. But the first step, of course, is Park and Rec Commission, because we had a park design. The shape and the layout and the actual design was all approved and part of that PUD approval. So that has to be addressed. Tonight, Steve White with Copper Basin Construction is here to make a presentation to you folks about a proposed amendment or possible amendment, and we're simply seeking feedback from the commission of whether you are comfortable with the proposal or not. After the presentation, you'll be able to ask questions of Steve, get clarification of anything, and then of course Hillary Anderson and myself will be available. Hillary is our planning manager, and I think I'll just turn it over to Steve and let you find out the proposal, and it is in your packet.
Good evening. Got a small one here. So yes, I'm Steve White with Copper Basin Construction, and we've negotiated with the current owner, Panhandle State Bank, on this project. As you probably all know, they ended up taking it back in foreclosure from the original developers, and we've been working with them over the past couple of years, getting the single family, the stuff that's done there, and we finally kind of have the project caught up and things progressing forward, and now we're looking into the future. And you know, one of the big issues as we look forward into doing the next couple of phases is some trigger points, and the 6.5 acre park that was proposed to be right in this area here originally is a condition for moving on to phase 2. The park in and of itself I don't think was a very usable idea. It was very overbuilt, not very community friendly, doesn't provide any active uses for anybody or any citizens in the city. So what we're looking for is looking to do something that creates a much more usable space for the city. And it sounds like from Mitzi's presentation, you guys are running out of ball fields fast, and that's what Dave and I originally got together and talked about on this. Was we're going to try to get together at least a 25 acre parcel for the city so that we can finally have a multi-use park here with ball fields, multi-use fields, enough room to fill in all those gaps and get a whole bunch more grass. In conjunction with that, we would be eliminating the 6.5 acre park here. We would continue or leave what's been completed on that park as far as a little bit of landscaping on the corner, and continue with the walking trail system. And we've just at this point started to note kind of general location of where the linear parks that we'll continue to put the walking trail systems on, and continue to the open space to the west of the project, as well as what we're proposing for the large 25 acre park area up here. What I need to be able to move forward is I think I need a recommendation, if I'm right, from this board to look at the two options we put on the table. One being this location for the 25 acres, the other one's as option 2 in your packet, which has, if I'm not able to do the trade with the highway district and acquire that property, we would be dealing with the property across the street from this one, across future Charlesville Road. So I'm open for any questions if you guys have, or fill in some gaps. Hopefully you had a chance to look through what I submitted on the narrative.
We did discuss this a little bit in the past, but having new commission members, I don't know if Dave, you want to give a little more background, or?
I can go ahead and give us some history, because we do have new people. We did have a park that was designed in there. Features included trails, an amphitheater, picnic shelter, playground. There was actually a pond in there, which would have been maintained by the HOA. Restrooms, and splash pad was going to be part of the commercial area above. We'd looked at that. And I can't remember if there was basketball courts in there. I believe there were. Anyhow, but it was a neighborhood park. And I think we figure that the cost back in 2008, you're looking at probably about $850,000 just to build the park itself. So that becomes one of the issues that, you know, as you look at development, is can enough be developed to support that, but it is a requirement. Recognizing that the market conditions have changed, there have been a couple of the HOA parks that have been adjusted with that, and we started working with the bank to try and negotiate the idea of a land swap. In this land swap, it would be that we would take the land in lieu of the development. The developer would also assist us in with the plans of the design of the park. So it would be we would be working with the developer once again to make sure that it kind of fits in both with their development needs, but also with ours. So like anything we do, even though it would be a sports complex, it would not, it's not just going to be the adult softball fields, which is the primary part, but we'd look at some multi-use fields that could be used for the lacrosse or the soccer. It would also have playground component with us, or some type of neighborhood amenity, and maybe that becomes a splash pad in lieu of the playground. So those are, you know, some of the things we'd be looking at. So it has some neighborhood, but it does push it out from the center there towards the end, but it fits within your comp plan. I guess we're open to any questions.
The property closest, the large piece, that belongs to what, the highway district?
Yes.
And their present proposal to use that for?
It's currently it's an old gravel pit.
Right.
And it's about half reclaimed, I guess. So I would run by, looked at it today. If you drive by it, you'll know it's bermed up 15 feet, so it looks way bigger than it is. But they're no longer using it as an active gravel pit.
Right.
And it really, I like the idea. I think this would be fantastic to be able to utilize the area there with the berming and that, to actually have, you know, grass terracing seating areas to watch games. I mean, I'm a soccer watching dad out on the prairie with the, you know, luckily it's not Ellensburg blowing sideways, but we're still in Gore-Tex with snow blowing, but it's all flat, so you're not really getting any visibility areas.
The other question, most topographical maps, when I went to map school 50 years ago maybe, but there were 100 elevations. There's no consistency in the numbers on those lines. Was there?
On inside the green area, or?
I mean, the elevation as it changes, are those supposed to be 10 foot or 6 foot or?
My eyes aren't good
Yeah,
enough.
that's where I was. I tried to look at it online, but, you know, someone will say like, you know, 21, and the next one's 27, and then it doesn't go in 6 foot for the next one. It'll go 8 foot, or
It looks like it's actual elevations.
They're 1 foot elevations.
are they 1 foot?
I have some larger ones.
Okay, yeah, and my eyes were, yeah, nope. Okay, so that 1 foot elevation change, I have it on my computer here, I don't need to see that. But, so every line there is a 1 foot change.
Yeah. Typically, when you're looking at a survey with elevations, you're usually looking at 5 foot.
Right.
So.
But we
it's a
have,
fairly
there's
flat
no
site.
lines in the pit then, the pit's just left.
No, the pit was not. We didn't, the surveyors did not go inside the pit. We
Doesn't
didn't-
give us
at
an
the
idea.
At the time we did the topography on this site for development purposes, we were just in preliminary stages on this, so it's more or less with whatever's in the pit is probably not relevant anyway. At the end of the day, it's about filling it to a certain level,
Not deep enough
terracing
for
it,
an
doing whatever
amphitheater?
we need to do to make it turn into a, a unique feature of a multi-use park is what I think it could really be.
Have you been out there lately?
Out at
To the pit?
No.
Me either, and it's been a while. Okay, I'm gonna go by and look at it next day or two, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's, the northern parts up by Prairie, there's concrete and topsoil, and they've filled about half that. There's still,
Yeah, it's
down
old.
at the southern end is where it would be active, but.
It's old.
One thing I should add on this, you see option one here, there is a second option. One of the big issues as we went through with this was to have some type of trigger point or a surety, and we looked at, looked at bonding and some other things, but it made sense to have timelines in here. So the way this is set up is the first option they have until the end of, you're
End of this
proposing
year.
end of this year to come to an agreement with the highway district for that. If that is not possible, to then go to option 2. So that would be your trigger point.
Okay, let me pull this up.
Dave, in option 2,
Yes.
Next
where
map.
the road goes through,
You're there.
where the road goes through the middle of it, what would we do to make that be safe?
We would have to look at either some type of crossing, a signalized crossing, or a tunnel under. I mean, there's things that can be done.
Because coming right off of Prairie right there, it just seems like it would be, we wouldn't want kids
Yeah,
running
it
back and
becomes,
forth.
it becomes a collector, and there's positives with that, there's negatives, but it's,
So that's a road that continues between,
Yeah, that's Charlie.
right. And that
a
does,
way to connect them then.
This was an option that the
Future
engineers drawn
development
up. I'll be real honest with you, if come December 31st, we haven't done this deal, I'll be back here and we'll be talking
Right.
about exactly which 25 acres. It may or may not be the second option. Our preference for 'em, from a couple of reasons, but obviously if we can get the trade worked out with the highway district, it does not impact what would be developable property as much, which, the more money we can generate on the development, the more things can happen out here too. So, we're open to, we'll see what happens, and we'll know before December 31st what's going to happen with the highway district. There's some right-of-way they want trade for part of this bridging the valley, and they're looking to the federal government right now to say, hey, if we do this trade, can we utilize this as our matching funds for the bridging the valley stuff? So they've got a few weeks that they've got to pin down the federal government on whether or not they can use the trade we're proposing or that they asked of us as the matching funds, and we'll either get that worked out or not. And if not, then we'll come back here and sit down and we'll figure out where the 25 acres works best.
So Dave, the department, your preference is what?
I think the original part we were looking at was actually a little bit closer in, but we recognize that, adjustments have to be made in there.
This is option 2.
We're comfortable with option 1 and then moving to option 2. Even with the separation road, that means a little bit more expense to us on development of it, but it's still doable, especially when you're looking at, your option of always having a full chunk together is preferable, but we don't see a huge issue in that. It means we separate parking, we do a few things there, and it may allow us, once you program it out, that you're allowed to do a couple different tournaments at the same time, different things. There's ways to separate it out. It comes down to design. You can take any piece of land and work it. It's just, what does it cost us to do? I think the big thing for us was looking at what meets some of our requirements. Obviously, a neighborhood park is an issue for the commission. It's in our park master plan. Sports complex is also in our park master plan. There will be, some people will be upset that we're not putting a park in at the neighborhood spot where we said, but the reality is that the park will change. They'll have, if you choose to accept this proposal, and really you have two things you can do. You can either accept it or reject it. You can accept it with some, I guess, conditions, whether it's a timeline you want longer, shorter, if you're, looking at connectivity, any of those things are issues for you folks. So you guys have the right, and that's what really what Steve's here is to get some feedback so it can go forward, to planning and zoning if it's accepted. If it's not accepted, we'd like to know what you would like to see, and then that goes forward. But the process, it's going to be a long one. The first step is here, and then it goes to planning and zoning for their review and the public hearings, and then after that, it would go to city council for their review.
I'm inclined to accept it as I've seen it. I've looked at it and studied it for the last few days, but I need some other people's
have some
input. Tammy's got a lot of hours in this, I know.
What is the timeline that you see on this for option one for developing a park?
Well, as far as the development part goes, I think that's, well, since what we're really proposing is getting the city a large piece of property to ultimately have this multi-use complex on, it's more about, once we can get the roads and everything built to it and all the facilities there in a year or two, then it's, I think, more of up to the funding, because
Well, David said that you were going to be part of the design.
yeah, we
That's in the
specifically also want to be involved in that, because it does impact another 150 acres of development property, so we want to make sure that whatever ends up there, we want to have a hand in a say in how it's designed and laid out.
And that design ultimately comes back to you folks for approval. And I guess, Steve, maybe you want to cover a little bit about the green space there, yeah, either one, it doesn't matter, you have
That's a better diagram.
As far as the linear spaces?
linear in here, so they understand that conversion and what's.
Yeah, this corner right here is, there was a pond dug in there that was never filled, and we've kind of got to decide what to do there. But there's about 2 acres here that was actually, at least they put some trees in and did some landscaping. It does have irrigation, it does have grass. So we're looking at the designs we're doing for our multifamily site here. At least leaving that corner, and that's been one of the requests of the existing residents. At least, that part that's there where they walk their dogs and everything stays. What we're wanting to do with the rest of the project, and we've really only looking at this portion of it thus far. The problem with a huge project like this, and the way the original Tullamore PUD goes, is you end up looking at something that may be 20 years down the road, and it's just too far out to look. You don't know how development patterns are going to go. You don't know what the demands are going to be, and we don't know what we're going to be doing in 10 years. So we're really trying to concentrate in this area and go with just the multifamily and commercial uses and kind of keep a focus a little more pinpointed. But the ultimate goal will be to have a lot more linear park space for the rest of the project versus neighborhood parks. We did complete this small one over here in Galway this last year. That's about a 1 acre park. And it's just, we did a little gazebo and a couple of swings, and it's mostly a flat grass field that the neighborhood can get to. But, it's in the middle of a housing development that all have almost half-acre lots, so everybody has a huge yard too. So, it's one of those uses, when you go back to look at it, it's like, do we really need a neighborhood park there, or do you need it over here where you got more high density? So,
It makes a place for my grandkids to walk to the bus stop in the middle of the circle. They live on the south end of Galway Circle there.
well, yeah, ultimately, we
they
do want to
they use
continue the
that park
walking
every
trail
day.
systems, and we do want to have, wider walking trail systems, and like I said, more of a linear open space feel, just for the walking trails. All of it obviously would, we'd want it all to tie into the large park, and we would want facilities in the park here that are functional for a neighborhood. I don't want to see just softball fields. We want to see playground equipment, things that our residents could walk to and utilize too, which is why we would like to be involved in ultimately the design and be back working with you folks on that. And every step we go in the phase, I think we'll be in front of you guys looking at each of these, a lot of the open space as we move forward too. There's a lot of things in this PUD that have to be modified. Right now, we're just trying to get to the next phase of single family, because we're running out of lots, the market's recovering, and the housing's going up and everything's working well, and I just hate to lose the momentum, but it's such a big process here to redo this PUD so we're trying to just tackle, I think, the main parts we have to hit now, keep moving forward with the large lot single family project, and then we give us a little time to work out big parks and open space and commercial users and multifamily. So we're excited about it, but it's going to be a big process. So like Dave said, step one.
With with all the time and energy we had put into this over the last few years, and it all went away, I'm glad to see something's going forward again. So, if we could help keep that going forward, and Dave staying involved in it and looking at the options, something's happening finally. I see that as a positive.
Tammy?
So we're doing single-family homes around the proposed option 1 area, correct?
This is completed and done
Right, I know that.
in phase 1 here.
Future phase.
Future phase, this is all single family.
Okay. And-
Everything we have in the red here is multifamily.
And the streets that are through there, are they city-owned streets?
Yes, there are no private, the only thing that were private roads as part of the PUD were the alleys.
Okay.
In this little section right here that had an alley load product. But all of the main streets, Charlesville, Hope, which none of that's in. We have brought Cecil up to here at this point, so everything else in there is
So the
is
homeowners
publicly owned.
association will take care of the private areas, the alleys.
And the reason I asked, just because, we've had large parks that were developed and all the streets around were private, and it's caused quite a conflict between the city and those homeowners associations, so that would be something to really, for us to consider moving forward. So that's good news that it's city-owned.
Yeah, I think in this case, really, we're separating the two.
Okay.
We're making a public park, very public roads. There's no, you got 25 acres, however many parking spaces you need, build them at the time and build the park. It is a lot harder when you're dealing with a 6-acre park. You're trying to put a small soccer field in it, and you're going to have cars parked around for 10 miles away. I mean, you can go to any soccer game on any Saturday, and we're parking everywhere we can. But that's okay.
Any other,
I
Nelson?
did quite, kind of with Dave, I haven't been out and seen the site, but you're looking at, we're trading 6.5 acres for 25. And so when you look at this from your perspective, what's the downside? What's the concern from your perspective?
Well, I think if you look at it, there's two things in there. As I said, there will be residents who are expecting a park to be built where it was in that size. So there will be some people upset. There will be others that will be okay with that. They will be okay with that. Some will be okay with the 2 acres, some will want more. But the reality is, what can be built, what can't be built? Does the land just sit there? I think from us, it allows the project to move forward for us also, because the issue at hand is we're trading the land and development for the raw land, then we would develop it at our speed. Where the developer would be involved in helping us with the design. Ultimately, it's going to be built at city standards. It will be built with your guys' approval and with my approval. So we have that. I don't know for sure if the 2 acres will appease all the people, and that's what you guys get to find out during the public hearing process and everything.
Actually get to find it out tomorrow at the HOA meeting.
Okay.
We'll be talking about this, so.
One thing I look at it from here is I'm not sure on that the linear park, that's one thing we've talked about with the trail, but I don't know if that's a paved trail, class 1. I don't know. The connectivity hasn't been worked out. It's kind of there as a placeholder, but, that's.
Well, and really everything here is more of a placeholder. We're trying to be very generic because, like you guys said, you spent 2 years getting all this stuff through and approved with all these fancy designs, and then all of it falls apart. The economy changes, things change, the development pattern changes, and all that goes to work. We would rather look at this thing more of a higher level, put some color on the maps, let's get some ideas out there. We want multi-purpose, 8, 10, 12-foot wide, whatever, paved trails running through here, trees, maybe, in areas you're going to have some of those athletic stations, various things out through, and that's all easy to work into a plan. We're just we want to kind of stay away from let's come out here and redesign 195 acres. with, you know, showing fake buildings and everything along here like the original plan did with all these amenities that may or may not ever happen. But keeping it a lot more open so that we can kind of move forward, and as the economy continues to improve, we can continue to add on to the parks, the open space. Obviously, getting into the commercial requires some commercial users, and that also drives, you know, how this area around here develops up top, so.
One of the discussions was whether to have everything designed out beforehand, but not knowing the exact land, it didn't make sense, and not knowing where it will fall in the process. This could go through, all the way through and not make it, you know, back through council or plan zoning. There's issues there, and it didn't make sense to try and design something, but we know what we want. In my mind, it makes sense to be able to trade the 6.5 acres in development for the land. We've talked about a sports complex for a long time. We looked out in the land application area, and that was, as we, excuse me, as we heard back, too far out from council. They wanted to see it in closer. This is in closer. It gives us good access from the roads. We still have to look at neighborhood parks to service some of that quadrant, but this can do some of it, and we can look at other sites. And I mean, but this is your chance to, you know, let them know what you like, what you don't like. The one thing with it being on a main road like that is all our parking will need to be internal. You know, that's a collector road, I'm assuming, so you're looking at a lot more
How
access.
much of that acreage would be used up for parking? What percentage or what amount?
You're probably looking at about 20% paved parking. If we don't pave it, you're looking at probably 25%. You can do it in stages, but I mean, when you mark it, people park properly. Well, most of them do. But, you know, those are issues. You can never put in enough parking for peak time or for a peak tournament. But you have to hit what's the basis in there. So obviously, that's one of the things we look at is, can they park along the street safely for those tournaments? You know, and that's stuff that we have to work on at the design. So, you know, I guess to be safe, you figure 25% of the land will become.
Who would be responsible for developing Cecil Road by the park?
Yeah, that actually, I guess, would be part of the negotiations. I'm not sure. I mean, that's probably more of a planning or an engineering question. It may fall upon us. It may fall as a joint thing. I don't know.
I think ultimately it ends up being part of the city's responsibility, but I think you've got access points here and here for now that certainly don't preclude it. Right. And then I think Cecil Road gets developed at the time these parcels here develop. Yeah. When you've got at least some developer participation that's contiguous. Luckily right now, but we're kind of at a time frame gun, is all of Tullamore is part of the URD. So all of the commercial component roads, which is all the backbone infrastructure, are URD reimbursable roads. So there's a funding mechanism available to do the offsite infrastructure for this project. Problem is we only have about 8 years left to get it there. Right. And 8 years seems like a really long time until you start dealing with this kind of process, because this project's already been sitting here 8 years. And, you know, they originally planned it to be 4 phases done in 4 years, and we're still building in phase 1 and completing that. So that lets you kind of know that, you know, 8 years goes by pretty quick. So, but it is available. I mean, if we can continue the momentum out here and get the multifamily and commercial going, it generates more tax revenue to be put back into the URD. More roads can get built, more improvements can be done. So timing is always an issue, but it definitely is on this project more than most.
I think the thing that I like about your option 1 or 2 is just in the time that I've been on the commission, we have seen parks. I mean, it's a little bit of a warning when it's kind of like so vague, because we've seen parks that we're supposed to be in a certain area, little tweaks here and there through planning and zoning back to staff, and all of a sudden, we've lost a couple acres of that park to never be reclaimed. So I can see that type of opportunity happening if we try to keep it where it's at. So I feel more confident in switching it out and trading the land and letting us develop it. I think Cecil may be an issue going forward, but then there's some options like you mentioned. So, I mean, that's just my personal opinion on that.
Well, and you know, from the selfish side of a developer, if we're looking at a 6.5 acre community park that nobody uses and there's no parking to it except for the people walking there, that's not a benefit to all that commercial property. I got to find a user for it here eventually. Sure. But if Dave can revitalize the softball tournaments that we used to have here when Quad Park was around, that bring, I don't know how many people do they bring in. I mean, those all summer long. This is something that also generates traffic that helps start lending a little credence to the commercial side of this project, which it's an important component of this project.
Any other questions for Steve or for Dave, or comments? What Tammy's kind of thrown out what she feels. Do we have any other ideas, or?
We're basically going to accept or reject.
Well, really, what we're looking for is whether you accept or reject the concept of trading the parkland and development for the 25 acres. And are you comfortable with, as the timeline spelled out, end of the year? And for me, that was a critical spot, was to have some, I guess, lack of a better term, drop dead date.
Yeah.
We need that assurance, and we had the assurance in the design and everything, but you're looking at some forms of changes happening, so it's, are you comfortable making that exchange? Or,
I'm with
I guess,
Tammy.
recommending.
Yeah, I'm with Tammy as well. We've seen this talked about it a few different times, and it sounds like we might be losing a neighborhood park, but we still need a sports complex, and I think it's a good trade. So I'd be in favor of it as well.
I agree.
Rick?
And the option 2, let's just say worst case scenario, you can't make the option 1 work. That's your land in option 2?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure if it was another negotiation that you would have to make for that land. And
No, it currently belongs to the bank, but
Sure.
Part of our negotiations with the bank was approving, that if we were not able to do this or however we worked out the parks, they put us in the lead on this thing, but we have the authority to march down the road and say we can make this trade.
How are you feeling, Sherry?
I'm all for it.
can I make a motion?
Yeah, Jamie or Howard, do you have any
Jump
questions,
on it.
or?
No, I think it sounds
From what I
great.
can see, I'm for it too.
No, Nelson, were you going to say something, or? No, okay. Did you want to?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the opportunity to swap the park for the larger parcel with the drop dead date of December 31st. And should that fall through, we'll look at option 2.
I second that motion.
Okay. Would it be that you're looking at option 2, or option 2 becomes in?
Option 2 would then become if option 1 falls through. So, just as it's proposed. I think it's-
Have that, Penny?
Yeah.
And you're good with the second?
I'm good with the second.
Okay. So we'll do a roll call.
Paul? Davis?
Aye.
Gorley?
Aye.
Martinez?
Aye.
Hale?
Aye.
Nordum?
Aye.
Bodel?
Aye.
Gould?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
And, I'm looking forward to working with you guys on all this, and there's a lot of open space left to do on this, but, I live out in the Hayden neck of the woods, and Crawford Park's our multi-use park, and that started out as a couple of ball fields with a dirt parking lot. And it's grown into a pretty good complex, so I think you can keep that in mind. I think when you look at a piece of property like this, we get 25 acres, it's great, we can get the whole thing laid out and done, but I think if we can tackle this thing, in bits and pieces and start down the road, maybe it isn't the shining star of the city from the first year if you get a couple of soccer fields and some ball fields and gravel parking, but eventually the money gets there and it gets done. And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Guess it's on to administrative and staff reports now.
Well, as you noticed, I didn't put a director's report in the packet this time. It's been very busy. Been working on a lot of projects. We're finishing up all the signage at Falls Park, which I think you're going to find is spectacular, kind of exciting. Then there's a second phase to it, but we'll go from there. We've had some staff turnover, and we've been hiring. Obviously, you met Justin, but we do have a park maintenance worker that will be starting with us on April 7th. We finally hired an urban forestry assistant. That's only been a 1.5-year search. And so that's a relief. So we're going to be back up at full staff. So just doing a lot of those things, as Mitzi mentioned, and we've already talked about, the mission statement and our defining professionalism and making sure that all the staff had buy-in on that and that we were using common words and language, because everybody has a little different reference point. So I do have copies of that finalized document for you guys at the end. I didn't want you reading that during the meeting and then critiquing staff. But, we've been very busy. We got the Vista relicensing. We've been negotiating with the issue there. So I felt that my staff report was probably one of the minor things in there.
Any questions for Dave? No? Okay, commission comments.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
I want to thank the media department for the new sound system. First time in 6 years I can hear. I was talking to Dave on the phone Saturday coming back from Spokane, and from the freeway could see the falls, and the entire hillside was covered with ice from the overspray. And the sun's out. It was gorgeous. I have some beautiful pictures that I can send you if there's someplace you want to. It was probably one of the prettiest times I'd ever seen the park with the falls. All the overspray on the whole hillside, and we had icicles and frost and a big circle area. It was a gorgeous picture of it. Something we should have on our site.
Okay.
We'd love that.
Those to you.
What else?
That's it.
Oh, I thought you had
thank you for
multiple.
the system.
Okay.
And that's my two.
Okay.
That's it.
Anyone else have comments, questions? No? We do have executive session, which is rare, and I think we're going to have a motion for that here.
I move to enter into executive session for the following purposes pursuant to Idaho Code Section 672345, subsection 1C, to acquire an interest in real property which is not owned by a public agency, and further, that no final action or making of any final decision shall be made in the executive session, and that the executive session shall last no longer than 20 minutes.
Second.
Do a quick roll call, or would you just do all in favor? Say it. Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll be back. Okay,
I move to enter back into regular session.
do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we're back in regular session, and we have no more items for the agenda, so we will adjourn.